Welcome back to the Kino Cave, and today I've got something a little different coming your way. Today I've decided to dip my toe back into the gaming side of things because recently I got the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition, which after watching some YouTube videos I learned that fans call it the defective edition because of how terrible it is. Today I'm going to start with Grand Theft Auto 3. Just a quick heads up, I am not really a gamer per se. I don't really play games a lot. I play them passively. I don't know anything about game development. I sure as hell don't know anything about like game design or anything like that. I just play games that I enjoy. This is going to be like a non-gamer perspective of these games, and any game that I talk about on this channel is going to be from the perspective of someone who just enjoys games, not like is in depth into video games. All that being said, I like the Grand Theft Auto series. I obviously got Grand Theft Auto 5 because I was a teenager when that game came out, so of course I got it. It's one of the highest selling games of all time. I loved it as a kid. I would play it all the time, me and like my friends and my cousins. Other than that, I've played Grand Theft Auto 4 because my cousin had it and I would be over at his house and I'd be playing it. But otherwise, I have not played any Grand Theft Auto game. I didn't really feel anything when the trailer for GTA 6 came out because, again, I'm not really a gamer. I don't really immerse myself into this world as much. So when it came out, I just went, cool. And then I just kind of left it at that. But when I saw the definitive edition trilogy, whatever it is, it was on sale on the PlayStation Store, so I decided to buy it and just to have something to play. So I'm going to start off talking about the story and characters of the game. This is the weakest story of any Grand Theft Auto game I've ever played. And I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in that, because I've obviously watched a lot of reviews of Grand Theft Auto 3 after I finished playing it, seeing what other people thought about it, seeing if other people had the same opinion as me, and yeah, obviously this is an incredibly weak story, and Claude is a terrible main character. He doesn't speak at all. He has, like, no personality. His character model, like, his face doesn't move at all for anything. You don't even get any window into his personality. That would be fine in, say, a first-person kind of game. Like, in Call of Duty, your main characters aren't really, like, that important. In Doom, your main character isn't that important, like, their personality and stuff. And in Halo as well, as far as I know. Like, I've not played half of these, but in Halo as well, like, your main character, isn't really that much to talk about. But the idea is that you're looking through their eyes, so you are their character, and you make decisions that you think that you would make as that character. But in a third-person game, with a character with a face who has a previously established story, it's a little different. This is a guy who was betrayed by his girlfriend. He was left without any like money or anything, just completely screwed over. And throughout the entire game, I don't know what he's thinking or feeling, and I don't really know what I'm supposed to be thinking or feeling either, because this character has a history. I'm aware of that history. I know how I feel about it, but I can't really translate that into the actions of the game because the game is completely linear. So, the first part of this game has you working for the Leone crime family. And starting with working for Salvatore Leone. So you're doing jobs for him. Little things like just driving around, picking people up, carrying out jobs, transporting stuff, that kind of thing. Classic Grand Theft Auto stuff. Salvatore Leone is like, he's just the Godfather. He's Vito Corleone. Like, that's obviously the inspiration there, but there's nothing to him outside of that. Like, I'll get to it in Vice City because I can't stop singing the praises of Vice City, but characters in that are ripped off from like real life fictional characters or real life like people, but they've got their own distinct personality still. Salvatore Leone is just Vito Corleone. Like, there's nothing else to him. There is praise coming for this game. It's just very much not in the story and character department. But my biggest issue with this game, story-wise, is that I don't have anything to say about any of these plot points or any of these characters. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel working for the Leone crime family. Like, I guess it's good to be making money, but then are you still thinking about like Catalina? I think her name is. It's coming up. Like, are you still thinking about her? You know, what's Claude supposed to be thinking while he's doing any of this? What's he supposed to be feeling? In case you haven't realized by now, I'm a big fan of like story based video games. Like, that's my kind of bread and butter. I I enjoy games like just to play passively. Like, you know, I'll boot up like Call of Duty or something and I'll just play that for hours and just, yeah, I don't care about the story. But in general, if I'm looking for a good game, I'm looking for a game with a really good story, like say the Batman Arkham games, or you know the new Spider-Man games, or um, I'm gonna get shit for this, but Assassin's Creed. I like Assassin's Creed. It's got an insane lore that I really like. Um, so when you know GTA 3 has a shit story, it kind of makes it not worth playing for me. So, moving on from the Leone crime family, we find out that Sal betrayed us because he thinks that we betrayed him first. It's a whole thing. And then you start working for Asuka, who's part of the Yakuza crime family. Or is it a family? It's the Yakuza, you know, the crime people in New York. God, I'm terrible with this. I'm not very immersed in gangster shit, you know. I like some gangster movies, but I don't know much about like yakuza and triads. And again, after like when we start working for Asuka, how is Claude or me supposed to feel at this point? Do we feel betrayed personally by Salvatore? You know, did Claude feel maybe a father son kind of bond with him? Maybe does he feel distrustful of Asuka considering his last boss did betray him? I don't know what Claude's supposed to feel, and therefore I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel. You just do the jobs for the people that you're working for in that moment, and that's it. I have no read on Claude's perspective of any of this, and that's, you know, I'll keep coming back to this criticism because it's such an important thing to have in a story based game. So Asuka seems to be more of a downplayed kind of character, which I think works in her favor because there's a lot of like very larger than life characters, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think Asuka kind of having this intimidating kind of presence, I think really works for her character. So I'm here for that. I quite enjoyed, you know, Asuka and what's her name, Mary something, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Moving on from that, you meet Kenji Kassen and Ray Machowski. Kenji is kind of your generic angry Japanese mob boss. So, not sure how to feel about that. That is a quite a dated, I think, aspect of this game. Maybe is that yeah, it's a little, just a tiny kernel of racism in there, just a little bit. He's a very angry Japanese guy. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy doing missions for him anyway. However, I think my favorite character in the game is Ray Machowski. I loved this guy. I thought he was very, very funny. I I love how he always talks to you in a bathroom. Like, that's just so ridiculous for no reason. I absolutely love that. And I just love how intense he is all the time. Like, I love that he's a crooked cop, and he's the best character. Like, he's got the most amount of personality and kind of he is kind of one of the larger than life characters that you'd see in, you know, the better GTA games. So you do work for Wachowski and you do work for Kenji and stuff. Then later on, Ray introduces you to Donald Love, who is this billionaire mogul who's like an awful guy. Like, I think they make him a cannibal, which is like, I love that, just playing up like millionaires to be this like like what's the most ridiculous horrible thing we can get this millionaire to be. It's great. I love that idea. And Donald Love's an okay character. I mean, I hate that you kind of do work for him for money. Again, what's Claude supposed to feel about any of this? Donald has you like starting a war between like the cartel and the Yakuza and stuff. I don't know what like Claude is supposed to be feeling during any of this. Does he actually want to do this? Is it all about the money for him? Does he have any sense of loyalty to anybody? How does he feel about Donald Love? Surely he hates him because Donald Love is awful. Does he, is he indifferent? Like, is he completely indifferent? Has the encounter with Catalina completely soured him on any emotions whatsoever? Maybe that's why he doesn't speak. So I'm gonna just take a little detour for a second and just talk about why this is such a huge problem for me. If we look at GTA 5, which, you know, is largely regarded as one of the better games in the Grand Theft Auto series, we have three very distinct protagonists. We have Michael, who tried to stay retired and live on his borrowed time because he knows he should be dead. But he's sucked back into this world of crime and corruption because he knows that it's the only thing he knows how to do, and it's the only thing that makes him feel alive. We have Franklin, who's obsessed with the gangster lifestyle. He knows that he can be this better version of himself, and the only better version of himself that he can be is this gangster, you know, making loads of money, pulling jobs and stuff. And he starts out a little out of his depth, but he eventually grows into this person that he's been fantasizing about being. And then we have Trevor, someone who is completely broken, just purely left by society to rot, living out the rest of his days in abject loneliness and poverty and just waiting out the clock, basically. His dreams were completely crushed. All of these are incredibly distinct and powerful characters, and a lot of them can be relatable characters. Young people will relate to Franklin, broken people will relate to Trevor, and God help those people, but older people, you know, people maybe going through midlife crisis and that, will relate to Michael. People who probably played the older GTA games will relate to Michael when playing GTA 5 because they're older now. Newcomers into GTA 5, like I was, would relate more to Franklin because he's young, he's up and coming, and he just wants to make money. And the less said about Trevor, the better. But they're such distinct characters that you can put yourself into. I've always thought that the Grand Theft Auto games are about living out the fantasy of the call to the void. If anybody doesn't know what that means, the call to the void is basically the idea of the intrusive thought. Like if you're driving a car and you think, what if I just crash the car? Obviously you know what's going to happen, but the idea is, well, how'd that go though? Like, it's the intrusive thought. That's always been the draw of those games to me. The idea that you can do whatever you want in this realistic world. In Grand Theft Auto 3, none of this is present. Claude is not an interesting or relatable character. You can't live out this fantasy of, you know, just crashing your car or whatever because the game wants you to be good at driving. I'll get into that in gameplay. This is my big problem with this game, probably why I'll never play the game again. I just don't feel anything playing it. So after doing a few missions for Donald, we catch up with Catalina and we are ready to take her down, I guess. I don't know, this has not been a very satisfying story. I guess to talk about Catalina, she's an angry and arrogant and just overall kind of a bitch, you know? She's just awful, like the worst type of human being, which kind of makes her an interesting character in the game, to be honest. Like, she's got a fun personality. But I did find Catalina to be a somewhat fun character. She does not deserve to be the main villain of someone like Claude. I would much prefer Catalina to be a bad guy in someone else's game where there'd actually be some fun back and forth, because I think that could have been really fun. But either way, it's a pretty fun final mission. You go and track her down. It did take me a good few tries to beat it. There's like a very like specific method you kind of have to figure out to beat it. Like, and there's little kind of guns and stuff stored around the map that you can, because you start the mission with no guns for story reasons. So picking up all the guns and stuff and learning how to use each gun when and all that kind of thing. It was a lot of fun. I must admit I really enjoyed the final mission. And that's it. You kill Catalina and you walk off into the sunset and there's a gunshot heard off screen and then the credits roll. How does Claude feel about killing his ex-girlfriend? I have no fucking idea. Alright, now I'm going to talk about gameplay because That's pretty much all there is to say about the story. It's a terrible story. So moving on to gameplay, I understand that for the time, GTA 3 had like groundbreaking gameplay. It was not common to have like a 3D third person video game where you could drive around an open world and don't have to do all the missions like completely linearly, and there's like all these different things you can discover, and it's a big wide open map. I'll talk about that later, but I understand that that was insane for the time. However, it has aged very poorly. The problem with a lot of these Grand Theft Auto games is that when you play the old ones, the new ones have ruined the old ones because the new ones let you do so much and kind of give you so much to do. So the old ones feel so restricting by comparison. So Claude's movement is okay. There's not much to him. It's pretty much the same as every GTA character. It's weird how he can't swim, and it's also weird how he can't like jump over low walls. That was kind of funny though. But otherwise, it's fine. It's pretty on par with the rest of the Grand Theft Auto games for me. The shooting is pretty fun, although you have a lot of limitations when it comes to like the weapons. Like you can only carry certain weapons, and you can lose them so easily as well. So you're very restricted in that way. But I still thought that the shooting itself was fun. I kind of didn't like how you go into first person for some weapons and you don't for others. Just keep it as one, except for maybe the sniper rifle, because the idea is that you can zoom in really close with that one. My biggest point of contention in the gameplay is the driving. It has aged extremely poorly. You flip your car very, very easily, and then when you flip the car, you can't flip it back over. It immediately like catches fire, and you have to run away. That creates a lot of problems, especially when you're doing missions where you have to drive around and like do a chase or something or get somewhere in a short amount of time, because it's so easy to flip your car, and then when you flip your car you have to get out and you have to get away from the explosion, then you have to find another car and get into that car and do all that without getting the cops on you and all that. It's kind of stressful a lot of the time. So yeah, the driving it's not great. If you crash your car like twice or three times, it will immediately catch fire as well. That was really annoying. If you're trying to drive through traffic and again you have a time limit maybe on you, or even if you don't, it's so easy to crash. And if you so much as like bump your car three times, that's it. It catches fire and it will explode. So yeah, the driving has aged extremely poorly. It was probably really good for the time, but I definitely did not feel good driving around in Grand Theft Auto 3. The car also does not handle well. It does not take turns very well. Merging, and the other cars on the road are so unpredictable. Again, making it so easy to crash your car. You could be driving along a straight road and the car will pull out in front of you, like right away. I guess that's like driving in real life, really. But in Grand Theft Auto 3, it's makes it a lot easier to crash that way. The cops are also a kind of ridiculous level of difficulty in this game. Like, I do appreciate that you can just drive straight into a customs and lose your stars instantly. That kind of balances it out, but so many times I was trying to get away from the cops and I would just flip my car, and then I would either get busted, which is really annoying because you lose all of your weapons, or you get wasted just by getting shot or the car exploding or something like that. It was, again, it just doesn't feel fun. My biggest issue with the gameplay in Grand Theft Auto 3 is that none of it feels fun to do. Everything feels like a chore. So finally, I'm going to talk about the world and atmosphere of Grand Theft Auto 3. And this is easily the best aspect of the game for me. This is the point where I have the most praise. I think Liberty City is a very well designed city. I definitely enjoyed like driving through it, and I like the muddy mix of grey and brown, and just making it feel compact. It feels like you're encased in the city and it's wrapped around you. There's also like a busy energy to the city with the cars and the street lights and the traffic and obviously all the people as well. It feels like an active and energetic city. There's a gloominess and a darkness to the game which matches the themes of the story quite well for what story there is. I think obviously it's a very dark and dim story, so having a dark and dim setting really suits it, I think. Music is always a pretty big point of conversation in Grand Theft Auto, and unfortunately, the music here isn't really anything to write home about. It's not overly memorable or anything like that. I enjoyed listening to Head Radio, I think, was my kind of main radio station that I'd listen to. And it's good. Like, it's, it's vibey, and, I like driving around with it, but I honestly, if you asked me to sing a single track from Grand Theft Auto 3, I probably couldn't do it. Whereas I could with the other games that I've played. Probably should have said this at the beginning, but I will say as well that I did play the definitive edition, and I'm aware of a lot of the differences in things like gameplay and different things with the graphics and stuff like that. I've seen like a couple of playthroughs of the original version of the game, and when it comes to this game at least, I feel like there's not that much difference for me to say that this is like not a Grand Theft Auto 3 review. I think I got a pretty good idea of Grand Theft Auto 3 from playing the definitive edition. And as far as I know, the definitive edition has actually like been upgraded since, and some people say it's fixed, some people say that it's still terrible. Um, Again, I think I got a pretty good idea of what Grand Theft Auto 3 is like from playing the definitive edition. I don't think playing the original PlayStation 2 version would really be all that different. I'm definitely not going to go back and play it because I did not enjoy the seemingly better version of the game. Because in that version, you don't get like a map, so you can't track people, you can't like set markers, and there's no weapon wheel, I think was another one. So yeah, I mean, I think I got a pretty good idea of Grand Theft Auto 3. Like I said, I'm a story person when it comes to games. For my review of 3 and Vice City, my story page is 2 pages, and the gameplay page is half a page. Like, story is what matters to me, and the story is no different. So, I think I got a pretty good idea of Grand Theft Auto 3. With all that said, that was my review of Grand Theft Auto 3. Let me know what you thought of the game down below. Let me know if you played the original and the definitive edition. Let me know which one you prefer. I genuinely want to know. We can get some discussion going in the comments of the video. Let me know what you thought of this video. Give it a like if you liked it, and subscribe to see more stuff. Don't subscribe to see more game reviews, but more talk about media in general, mostly film and stuff like that. With all that said, I hope you have a really great day.